Hi readers, Chris here. Today I'm going to quickly go over all of the books that I read in August, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about what I'm reading in September, my September TBR. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, do all the things. I'm going to jump in and start talking about all of the books that I read in August. August was such a better month than July. July, I only finished one book, but in August, I did a lot better. And I'm going to start with my most recent one, which was Tokyo Ever After. Now, I did just post a 1-minute review for this book earlier this week, but I want to talk about it a little bit again because I just love this book so much. This book came in my May Spiritcraft book box, and you know, book box books are hit or miss, but this one was a true delight. It's a YA romance, so yes, it does have some of those, you know, romancy tropes in it, but it was so funny, so cute, so sweet, and there is a brief but important moment in this book where a ferret appears, and any book that features a ferret, I mean, that is an A+ in my book. So if you have not read Tokyo Ever After, definitely recommend it. If you're looking for something quick, short, super cute, and super funny, this is where it's at, Tokyo Ever After. I'm just going to keep saying that until hopefully it gets through your head and more people can read this one. Next, I'm going to move on to the standalone fantasy that I read last month, which was Song of Achilles. And again, most of you saw I did do a full-length review on Song of Achilles on why I had some mixed thoughts about it. There were parts of it that I liked, there were parts of it that kind of annoyed me, and overall, it was just kind of a meh book and really did not live up to my expectations. If you want to hear my more in-depth thoughts about this one, I would definitely recommend going to check out that video. I do want to read Madeline Miller's other books one of these days, but I think my expectations have been lowered significantly since this book was such... It was, yeah, mixed results for me, but I'm glad I'm not the only one that felt that way. So, Song of Achilles, I'm glad I read it so that I could at least see what it was about, but definitely not something that I plan on reading again, and I'll probably unhaul this book at some point in the future, whenever I do my next unhaul video. Next, we have a historical fiction, which is The Wise Woman by Philippa Gregory. Philippa Gregory is one of my favorite authors. She does historical fiction, and I have been lucky enough that this year I have converted not one, but 2 different readers. Laura loves books, and then Reading Nymph here on BookTube and over on Instagram. I've both convinced them to give The Other Boleyn Girl a try with, I think, good results. So this was not like a book that takes place in a palace, but it's just about a normal poor girl and kind of her trying to survive. Again, I already did a 1-minute review about this one as well, but if you like historical fiction, if you're into Tudor era England, I definitely recommend this one. It's a good choice. Just warning, whether you're into this or not, this book is a lot steamier than I thought it was going to be. Like, super steamy. Like, whew, need to take a shower afterward. So if you're into that, definitely read this book. If you're not into that, you might want to stay away because it's pretty graphic at times, which I think is fun, but, you know, not everyone might. I just wanted to throw that out there. Next up, I had another YA fantasy, and that is Scarlet. So this is the sequel to Cinder, which is the only book I finished in July. This is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles series, and I need to go out and get book 3 because I am really liking this series, and I need to see where it goes. Really enjoyed it. I can't wait to read the next one. I've heard that this whole series is really great, and so far I think, yeah, it's really great. So I want to keep reading. I want to keep seeing where it's going. Love this book. Loving this series so far. I don't really know what else I can say about Scarlet other than if you have not read the Lunar Chronicles yet and you are looking for a new, you know, YA fantasy / science fiction type series. This is a really, really, really good one. Next up, I have Artemis, Fowl, and the Lost Colony. I've mentioned this in previous videos, but in case you are new, I have not been doing video reviews of the Artemis Fowl series. I have been doing written reviews for them on my website, but if I'm honest, I have not updated my website in quite a while. I started a new job and I just really have not had the time. So I have been posting like little mini blog reviews over on my Instagram. So that would be the best place to pick up all of the Artemis Fowl reviews. So this is book 5 in this series. I have 2 more to go before I finish it and I can move on to a different middle grade series. I really like this book. I didn't like it as much as the previous one, which was The Opal Deception. I really enjoyed The Opal Deception. I think Opal is a great villain. I really, really loved her. She was fun. I did not think that the villain in this book really kind of stood up to that, but there were some really fun things. There's some new characters introduced. There's like a whole new dimension of demons that are introduced. So a lot of that stuff was really fun. And I'm interested to see how they take the things that happened in this book and carry it on throughout the rest of the series, because there's some pretty serious consequences that happen at the end of this, and I'm definitely curious to see where that goes. Now, the one other book here that I don't have that I wanted to mention is Delirium, which was an ebook that I read in August. So Delirium was actually recommended to me by one of my Instagram followers, Haley. And I've mentioned this before, but I do occasionally take recommendations from my followers over on Instagram. I want to start doing that on YouTube as well. So if you've made it this far in the video, I'm going to ask you now, if there's a book that you think that I should read, I want you to leave it in the comments section down below. Depending on how many I get, I'll either try to get through all of them, or maybe I'll put them in a hat and just, randomly pick one. We'll see what happens. Again, based on how many I get. If there's only 1 or 2, I'm going to read them both. So, I want to know what book you want me to read. Let me know down below. So, next I'm going to move on to my September TBR and share what I am reading this month. Starting with my recommendation for this month, which is The City of Brass. This was recommended to me by reading a book over on Instagram. I haven't really heard too much about this book, so I've gone in pretty much blind, and I'm about a quarter of the way through, and so far it's really, really cool. So it's a fantasy. It's an adult fantasy. I don't know why it's adult, but it was in the adult section at Barnes & Noble, so nothing super violent or sexy, or there hasn't been a lot of vulgar language, so I don't know why it's adult, but maybe I'll find out. But it's based on Egyptian lore, Egyptian history, so we have genies or jinns as they're called, and a lot of Egyptian references to culture and all that sort of stuff. So really, really cool so far. I'm really enjoying it, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So I'm really excited about this one. So as soon as I finish this, I'm going to pick out a new recommendation to read. That's why I need your recommendations down below. Next, I am still on my Stephen King journey and still reading It. Because I read so many books at once, I have no idea how long it's going to take me to get through this, but I'd say I'm about a third of the way through, which I think is pretty good. I'm hoping that I can get most, if not all of it, finished by the end of September. Depends how things go, how busy work gets, all that stuff. But so far, I am really loving this book. Sometimes Stephen King tends to be a little wordy, but in this book, I think that really, really works because there's a lot of characters. There's a group of 6 or 7 in the Losers Club. And if you don't know them, if you don't care about them, if you don't know them inside and out, you're not gonna care what happens to them. So yes, it took a long time. It takes a long time to kind of set up who all these characters are, where they come from, what their hopes and dreams are, what their fears are, what they suffer from. But I think that's really going to pay off later in the book, and I can't wait to get to I cannot wait to get to those parts. I mentioned this to someone, I don't know who it was, but after I finished the book, I definitely want to go back and watch both the 80s miniseries and the more recent movies. The 80s miniseries, the one with Tim Curry, if anyone's old enough to remember that, totally traumatized me as a kid, so I definitely want to go back and rewatch that. Because I don't know why, I think it'd be funny, I guess. My standalone book for this month is The Martian by Andy Weir. I've always wanted to read this book, and I did not want to start like a new series because I'm trying to get my hands on the sequel to Mistborn, Brandon Sanderson. So I decided I would pick up this kind of standalone adult book and have that get me through the month till I can get the other book that I want. I'm not quite halfway, almost there, but not quite halfway through this one. And I do have some mixed feelings on this one, if I'm being honest. I do like it for the most part. For the most part, it's really fun. I thought it was, in the beginning, it took a little while to get used to all of the technical stuff. There was a lot of technical jargon in the beginning of this book. A lot of explaining how things work and blah, 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 blah. And a lot of that stuff just kind of went over my head, and I could feel my eyes just kind of glazing over. But that stuff has started to be broken up with other things in the plot, and I think that's really exciting. So I guess I should mention, if no one knows what this is about, it's about an astronaut who gets stranded on Mars, and it's a survival story. And yeah, I actually think that some of these scenes that take place on Earth, the people that are trying to help him, are a little bit more entertaining right now than the actual astronaut, if that makes sense. I don't know. So again, I still have a bit to go in this book, and I'm curious to see if my opinions will go up, down, or what will happen. Because I'm not quite in the middle. I'd say I'm a little bit higher. It's a higher than average. That's how I feel about this book right now. Above average, but not like super great. My next book, in place of a historical fiction, I am reading this contemporary, A Man Called Ove. Now, I've never read anything by Frederick Bachman, but I've heard a lot about him. Over on Bookstagram, his books are super, super popular. People are talking about them all the time. I picked up this book at a library sale, I think, sometime over the past year. It's just kind of been sitting there, and I just felt like it was the right time to read this book. Again, I'm about a third of the way through this one, and I am really liking this book so far. I think a lot of your enjoyment of this particular book, it's about a grumpy old man who is kind of trying to it's about an old man who's trying to kill himself because he's just done with life. And then he's got new neighbors that move in, and there's a cat in the neighborhood, and how he kind of interacts with the people in the world around him. And I think a lot of your enjoyment of this book is going to depend on how you feel about the old man, Ove. And instantly, like as soon as I started reading about him, I absolutely fell in love with him. I don't know why. Like, the things he says to people are like, I think the things a lot of us think in our heads but don't say out loud, and Ove just says them out loud. So I think he's super endearing, even though he's super grumpy and he's a jerk to a lot of people. I absolutely love him. So I think he's adorable, and I would want to be his friend in real life. I would want to try and change some of his worldviews. So again, we'll see where this one goes. We'll see how my opinions change. But right now, I am loving A Man Called Ove. Next, I am still reading a YA fantasy, and I'm really going to need to try to finish some of the series that I've started. So the Lunar Chronicles, the Red Queen, the Shadow and Bone series, and Ember and Ashes. So I am reading now Glass Sword. It's an ebook, and it is the second book in the Red Queen series, which I think there's 4 or 5 books in the series. I don't even know. I'm about halfway through Glass of Sword, and so far, again, I think it's average. Like, I'm liking it. There's nothing about it that I can pinpoint and say, oh, I don't like that. It's just average. We've got average characters. There's an average plot line going on. There's nothing super exciting about it so far. So I'm just, hoping that in the second half of the book that something exciting happens, or that the action picks up, or that, something to make it more like, wow. Like, I really enjoyed book 1. So book 2 is just not as good as book 1, in my opinion, so far anyway. I reserve the right to change my mind depending on what happens in the second half of the book. Last but not least, I have my Artemis Fowl book for the month, which is The Time Paradox. And I think this is the second to last book. There's only one book after this. Now, again, I just started this one, so I'm only about a quarter of the way through, so I have a bit to go on this one. But so far, I think it's got an exciting plot line. It pretty much picked up right away with, like, the action and where this book is going, so that's super exciting. I can't really talk about it too much without giving away spoilers from previous books, which I don't want to do. But if you want to leave a comment down below, I can talk about it a little bit more. But so far, I'm enjoying this one and excited to see where it goes, and hopefully it goes somewhere exciting. I keep saying exciting, I feel like, but I don't know what else to say. It's exciting. I'm exciting. The book's exciting. Hopefully it's all exciting. So those are my books that I'm going to read hopefully this month in September, and what I finished last month. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not already, please subscribe to my channel. I do new videos every Sunday, Wednesday, and pretty much all the time on Friday now. And I do have an exciting announcement coming up over on my Instagram because it's my birthday this weekend. So if you don't want to miss it, make sure you pop on over there and make sure that you're following me so you don't miss it. Yep, I said that more than once. Okay, happy reading.